Welcome back to Straight Facts. It's Tuesday. Dan Potts, LB. How are you, gentlemen?
Yeah, great, man. Really good. Cheers.
The return of the king has come back to the Stade d'Etihad. Ugarte Gundogan, man. Sorry, Dan. Season's over, bro. He knows it as well.
Let's see.
Come on, man. Yeah, big up, man. Big up. Happy to be here.
Yeah, same. And yeah, lots of transfer news to jump into today. Arsenal's deal for Merino done in the next 24 hours. The announcement is said to come through. Ugarte to Man United appears to be imminent now with a loan move. Sancho to Chelsea we're going to jump into. We're going to review the Premier League as well as the opening weekend has finally completed with Tottenham having another capitulation, which I'm sure Potsy was enjoying watching. And we are talking City as well, with Gundogan maybe on his way back. It looks like that's going to happen as well. But viewers, hit the like button for us if you haven't done so already. And make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. I did want to start actually with a little bit of a review on Tottenham last night because they started well, all guns blazing, boys, but then seemingly fell apart as soon as they conceded. And there was a tweet that went out today from Henry Wright, who's a friend of the show, kicking off about the fact that they've only won, I think it's 4 games out of their last 10, and they're against relegation fodder. They're struggling to win. They're struggling to keep clean sheets. And crazily, I didn't know this until I looked. Since Ange has been at Tottenham, they have spent 420 million. When you compare that to 370 by Man United, 311 by Arsenal, 284 million by City, and 172 million by Liverpool in that same time. And struggling. You can see there under the tweet where Henry has messaged. That's in their last 12 Premier League games, just 4 wins, 7 defeats, and 1 draw. A poor start for Tottenham by all standards.
Yeah, man. Spursy, mate. That's what it was. Last night, proper Spursy. Oh, it's beautiful. Jamie Vardy, 37. Boy, have that. Loved it. Should have scored again, by the way. Went through and I thought should have done better to make it 2-1. What were Tottenham doing, man? That should have been an absolute buried game in the first half. For me, it was very one-way traffic from what I saw. I missed the first 20 minutes of the game even as well. And the last 25, I could see they were clearly all over them. Look, Spurs, if they're going to continue like that and not be able to kill teams off, maybe they need to go and buy a forward for 65 million or something. Oh, they have. They have. Look, I listen, it's tongue-in-cheek with me because it's Spurs, but I didn't think it was great, man. This Romero bozo guy, I don't know what people seem to be bigging this guy up more than Saliba and Gabriel. What was he doing for that goal? What the hell was he doing? That's all I keep hearing from Tottenham fans is this Romero is better than Saliba. He is our Saliba. He's much better. We will show Saliba how it's done. What the hell was he doing for that? He's leaving the 30. Oh, he's 37. I'll leave him. He won't score. Boying. Header. Mate, I just loved Jamie Vardy as well. Point at the Premier League. Yeah, I've won one of them. You haven't. It was great shithousery, man. It's always good to see as an Arsenal fan when Tottenham fumble. And that's what they did last night, man. I don't know if they're going to do any more in the transfer window. Look, real talk, I actually think Tottenham's 11 is pretty good. I think they've got a good team. But I don't think they've got anything from the bench. And when I looked at the 2 lads they brought on, I actually thought it was Screech and Zach from Saved by the Bell. Like, real talk, when they were coming on, I was thinking, who the hell are these 2 lads? Who was it? Bergval, is it? And obviously the lad they brought from Leeds. Like... That's a poor couple of subs to bring on, weren't it? Let's be real. It didn't do any favours at all. They got nothing from the bench, Spurs. Deji was telling me that their squad's better than Arsenal's. Well, I looked at their bench and thought it was pretty poor, man, if I'm honest. So I was happy. I enjoyed the game. Big up to Leicester. Big up to Steve Cooper. And big up to Jamie Vardy. But Spurs were Spursy again, man. But LB did a watch along. He probably looked at it more than me. I only saw like the large parts of the game towards the end. But I quite enjoyed it, man. Big up to Leicester.
Listen, it was, you're absolutely spot on, man. It was a very Spursy performance. I actually thought first half, they probably should have been 4 or 5-0 up. I don't think Leicester had a shot in the first half at all. Spurs were playing really well, creating chances. The finishing was so poor. I mean, the amount of shots that just went straight at the goalkeeper or over the bar was ridiculous. And of course, if you don't kill the team off, I mean, you give encouragement to the team, and that's exactly what happened. Leicester come out in the second half, look better, look to get on the front foot, look to make threats, and they were looking threatening. And yeah, it's just a Spursy type of performance. And listen, I've not got Spurs anywhere near the top four. I don't think they're going to get top four. I think that the way Spurs have done transfer business over the years is just ridiculous. Spurs spend money, but instead of spending money on players that are ready for the here and now, they buy these like up and coming players all the time, and that just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we say the same thing with Chelsea. You know what I mean? You've got to buy players for the here and now. And some Tottenham fans have got their head in the sand. They spend money. You got to spend money. I mean, the facts are the facts. Terry just put the graphic up on the screen. 400 million since Ange come in. Do you know what I mean?
Crazy,
you're buying all these up-and-coming players, man. And listen, some of them are going to turn out to be good, just like some of them at Chelsea are going to turn out to be good. But you've got to have winners for the here and now. Tottenham are not a team that actually want to win things. The owner, the board, they're not bothered about winning. I don't think they care about winning. All they're bothered about is increasing the value of the football club. That's it. They're not bothered about winning, because if they were bothered about winning, they would never have sacked Merino before the final against City. They would buy winners and they would get better players in. They're all about buying players for that 15 to 30 million pound bracket under 24 to try and develop them, so then they can flog them a few years later for 60, 70 mil. And then what'll happen is Daniel Levy or someone will come out and say, "Oh, we're fuming that we've lost a player. Yeah, I mean, it's not fair that City and all these teams buy our players." It's like, no. And then some of the Tottenham fans fall for it. That's what they want. That's what they want. They're already there to make a profit. They're not there to win. There's no chance a football club, the size of Spurs and the amount of money that they've got should have gone as long as they've gone without winning a trophy. I mean, when was the last time they won a trophy? It was Carabao Cup, right? Like what, 18, when was it? 18 years ago?
2008. 2008,
right? So
14.
That's a long time.
It's going to be 15 years if they don't win one this season.
This is what I'm saying, right? Arsenal have been trashed for the last decade. They still win some FA Cups. United last season, worst performance ever in the Premier League, still win an FA Cup. Yeah, Leicester have won trophies. Liverpool win trophies. City win trophies. Chelsea have won trophies. Tottenham are the only big six club that don't win anything. And it's because they don't want to win. And it's never going to change until their fans get really, really serious. And I know people will like, "Oh, we do protest." And that. Now you need to get serious. You need to stop spending money at the club shop. You need to stop buying the tickets, because until you hit the pocket of these owners and the chairman, nothing's going to change. They are literally using that club to line their own pockets. And then they, you know what I mean? I just think it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? That club should not have won anything since 2008, even if it's just a couple Carabao Cups, even if it's just an FA Cup. To have won nothing the size of Spurs is just absolutely ridiculous. It is, man.
Do you know what's crazy about it is I can take banter off of the vast majority of the teams inside the top six, because we have been awful in the last 11 years, and there's times where we deserve banter. You obviously guys saw it on Saturday night where Don was trying to tell me that Manchester's now blue, and me and you'll have an argument over that. But my view is, well, it ain't blue until you have more trophies than us in totality. Although the last decade you've been superior to us in every way. I can take that kind of banter, though. It's coming from a Chelsea fan. They're a highly successful team as well. What I found really difficult is Spurs fans talking about how poor Man United are. And I sit there and think, as bad as we are, we have still been better than you overall. When you put all your cards on the table, we have still been in the worst decade since I've been born, and one of the worst periods in our history of our football club. We have still been. What trophies have we won since Fergie left? We've won 2 FA Cups. We've won Europa League and 2 League Cups. So we've won 5 trophies in that decade. So we have won 500% more than you in the worst decade of our period. One of the worst decades of our existence as a football club, especially in the modern day sense as well. And I look at them and I just think you're the 6th or 7th wealthiest club in the world in terms of the actual income that you bring in. I always hear Spurs fans say we don't back our managers, we don't spend money. You forget the last 2 years where you're only behind Chelsea in spending. If you look in Premier League history, You sit fourth or fifth. You've spent over £2 billion on players. And I think Arsenal and Liverpool have spent in and around the same amount as you. Look what they have won in comparison. This is a mindset from everybody at your football club. And I agree with something Staffy said on the Top 6 show. There was a lack of quality at times, a lack of quality in finishing, a lack of quality in the final ball at times yesterday. You've got to look to improve it. But that club overall lacks the mentality to win. Because as soon as, even when they scored, Leicester were awful yesterday. I'm going to be honest with you. They're not a good football team. I watched that first 65 minutes until they equalised, and I thought, this team's going down. They're going down quickly. This team could be relegated by January. They look that bad if they don't up those levels. I know they've got some injury problems as well. As soon as they scored, Spurs didn't get back in the game. They had one chance right at the end, Richarlison, who missed it. But what I really expected to see was Spurs gather themselves, go up a level, blitz them, because they've got better technical players, more speed, more strength. You add that all together, you should be blowing them away. You should be able to up your levels. And they couldn't do it. And that, for me, is in the head. That is in the mindset of these individuals. And I remember reading an article about October time last year, where a journalist at a mainstream media outlet said that Big Ange has stopped Tottenham being Spursy, and we could be witnessing the new Sir Alex Ferguson. And ever since then, I've had a bee in my bonnet. I've had a bee in my... The only manager currently managing in the world, outside of Ancelotti, that you could talk about in the same breath as Sir Alex Ferguson is Ancelotti or Pep. Nobody else. And when I saw Big Ange and Tottenham that's spoken about in that way, it annoyed me. I'm not annoyed at the fans. I'm not trying to slag their football club off. But I watched last night and went, how dare you mention that great man's name? How dare you try to put Ange where Sir Alex stood because he had a good first 10 games to last season? I thought it was atrocious, in my opinion. And they spent a lot of money again this summer. And I know you can't judge a team completely by the first game of the season. And everybody, they can definitely improve. They can definitely have a good campaign. But I put them down at the start of the season as my underperformers of the season, the team that will not do as well as we expect. Mm-hmm. And I'm standing by that as of right now, because I think they're all fur coat and no knickers. They really are. And there will be loads of good moments, loads of good football. But in the cold, hard light of day, their fans will be let down. They will win nothing. I put a bet on that today. I don't know if the bookies have odds on that. Whatever it is, you probably get 3 or 4 to 1 on Spurs winning no trophies this year. I'd stick a fair bit of money on that, because they're just not winners. And that's what I saw last night. And out of all the teams in the top 6 as well, Chelsea lost, but they're up against the mighty Man City. Everybody else started with some, and there's some positive to take from it. Spurs, straight away, chicken dipped. Excuse the pun.
Yeah. And you know, it's mad because you say this is a team that don't want to win stuff. This is a team that got to a final and sacked Merino and put Ryan Mason in charge, by the way. Yeah, this is the club we're talking about here. This is a team that are allergic to trophies, right? Now, Arsenal have gone too long without trophies, in my opinion, right? It's been 5 years without a trophy. It's been 21 without a Premier League, right? So you can come at Arsenal all you want, and I'd agree with you. You know what I'm like with my own club, right? But I look at the recruitment at Tottenham, and I've got massive question marks, man. Like, I've just jotted down in the last couple of seasons. This might shock you. I don't know if it will, right? But I look at how much they've spent on their kind of biggest players in the last couple of summers, right? Let's go to this summer. They've spent 65 million on Solanke. Now, let me get this straight. I actually think he's a good player. I think he's a hell of a lot of money, but I think he's a good player. I think he's proven that he can score goals, right? But it's a hell of a lot of money. They spent 40 million on Archie Gray, who's an 18-year-old who's not proven. He's done well in the Championship, but let's be real. I don't think he's one to take them across the line. Then what you do is you look at Odobert, who's just come in from Burnley. He's 30 million pounds. Don't know much about him. Maybe he's going to be a top player, but 30 million, you start to think, actually, that's not so bad, but it still then sort of adds on to it. They spent 55 million pounds on Brennan Johnson. What the hell is that all about? Yeah. Mm-hmm. 60 million on Richarlison. Absolute bozo, right? Mm-hmm. They've spent 30 million on Orignal, who had to go on loan at Manchester United because he was that bad the summer before that, right? Lo Celso, 32 million. They're trying to flog him to a few foreign players outside. 62 million on Ndombele from Lyon. Where's he playing now even? I think, didn't he go on free or something? Absolutely shocking. And 47 million on Davinson Sanchez. This is their recruitment. This is their summer. Who the hell is scouting these players and saying that they should be coming into Tottenham.
Well, I think this is what I was saying before, bro. I think the way Spurs move as a football club is they try and be too clever. They try and outsmart everyone. Do you know what I mean? Football's not difficult, right? To win football matches, you need the best players. Usually, the best players cost the most money. Now, what they do is instead of just going buying the best players, and let's not pretend like Spurs can't attract top players. They've got a great stadium. It's a big football club. They're in London, and like Terry said, they're one of the richest clubs in the game. They can pay the wages, right? Instead of going for those players, they go for these other players that are like, sometimes you don't even know who they are, you know what I mean? And then they get these, and then most of the time, they don't really work out, you know what I mean? And then they end up just wasting the money. They bought all these youngsters in. Again, some of these youngsters might turn out to be good, but not all youngsters go up in a straight line, as we've talked about when we spoke about Chelsea. There's no excuse. I just don't think this is ever going to change until, one, they get a new owner and a new sort of sporting director, or until the current leadership at Spurs fundamentally changes the way they run the football club and stop focusing on buying all these players that they're going to develop and just buying players for the here and now. I mean, that team that they had with Poch, right, when they got to the Champions League final, they should have backed him big time after that Champions League final. They lost the Champions League final to Liverpool. That summer, they should have gone out and spent 250, 300 million, whatever the max they could have spent, and made a statement to the world of football to say, this isn't just a flash in the pan. We're here to stay. We've got to a Champions League final. We're going to spend big. We're going to improve, and we're going to come back. And we're going to win something. And instead, what happened? They let the squad deplete. Poch is sacked, and then they're just on a downward spiral. They're just not run like any other football club that actually wants to win, and it's all due to the people running the football club. The transfers are absolutely shambolic.
Listen, I totally agree. And sometimes you've got to put your name in the hat. You get rejected, but it still helps you grow your reputation, and also puts it out there that you mean serious business. And even in my own industry, I did a role before I quit my jobs in the banking world. I started doing some consultancy work, and essentially what I was doing was helping to put consultants into banks. And there's something in the UK and across Europe really called the big four accountancy firms. You've all heard of KPMG and the like. There's four of them. They win most of the big contracts that go into banks at any level, right? But the firm I was working for, they had this new director who I was working alongside, and he just said, look, we've got to start pitching for some of this work. And the owner of that business said, well, we're going to get laughed out the door by some of these firms because we're just not big enough. And he said, yes, you will to begin with, but you'll slowly start building your reputation up. You'll start showing people you're serious. You'll start making new contacts. They started off, and I've left ever before they've succeeded. But the income of that organization has gone through the roof now after 5 or 6 years of operating like a big player. They didn't win it all straight away. Spurs have got to do something similar. Spurs have got to go out there and say, you know what? We might not get him, but let's go and stick. I'm using this player as an example. Let's go and stick an £85 million bid in for Trent. Let's try and sign him. You might get told no. Then you go after another big player. Try and sign him. Try and get Isak. Go out and try. I mean, they actually got Solanke, who I think is pretty good, to be fair. Try and sign a player off a rival. Try and take someone away from. You're not going to get no one from Arsenal. Fair enough. Try and take someone. Try and pay the wages. And as much as the audience may go, but the players are going to laugh them out the door. Not forever. Well, they really are showing ambition. Players want to be at clubs that are showing ambition. Feel like, do you know what? They haven't quite got Trent, but I respect them for doing it. Build up those relationships. And do you know what will happen? It was the expression, if you kiss enough frogs, one of them's going to turn into a prince. At some point, you're going to turn someone's head. Liverpool didn't get Lenny Yoro because they didn't think they could convince him to not join Madrid. Man United went on to do it. Now, he's young and there's room for him to grow and prosper. He may end up being a star. One thing's for sure is we definitely wouldn't have signed him if we hadn't tried to sign him. And I think that's something Spurs have got to do. If you want to be a big club, it ain't just about the income. It isn't about the stadium. It isn't about wearing the kits and even the commercial side to a certain degree. It's about moving and behaving like a player in that space. Because if you always sit on the periphery, well, I'm not going to go for that deal because we might not get it. I'm not going to put our name in the hat for that in case we get embarrassed and get told no. You'll never be a big player. You'll never be a big player. You have to take those risks. And I think that it's crazy to me. And I watched them. And I'm not trying to shit on them too much. It probably sounds like I am. But I look at a team that's the 6th or 7th richest in the world in terms of income. And the teams that are below them are so much more ambitious, run their clubs better, and the more successful. And something has got to give as far as. And
Where
look, a
do
few
you
people
boys
saying,
put 'em
Terry,
this season?
you're waffling. Let waffling. Well, at the end of the day, you say you're waffling. But if smaller businesses don't take risks, start behaving like bigger organizations and pushing for those things, they never grow. You just let the big boys remain the big boys. And yeah, that's crazy logic in my very, very humble opinion.
Where do you boys put them this year? I've got them at 6th in my predictions, but that might be kind.
I mean,
I've got
let's be honest, right?
right.
They've still got, like you said, they've still got good players, right? So I think anywhere between 5th and 8th is where I've got them. I think they could, if they have a good season, they could finish 5th. But it wouldn't surprise me if they finish 8th. Like, I don't know, like what you're gonna get with Spurs. Like, they're gonna be in that region. I probably have them lower. I probably, if I'm going to say, probably have them about 7th or 8th personally, because I just don't think they're that good. But just to quickly, before you move on, Terry, yeah, they obviously had the Champions League final, right? That summer, yeah, after the Champions League final, the summer that I think they should have gone big, yeah, they've just got Champions League final, go big in that summer, let everyone know that you're serious. They signed a guy called Jack Clark from Leeds, 11 million euro. Yeah, this is transfer marks in euros. He's now at Sunderland. They lost 11 million quid. They got Lo Celso on loan. Sessegnon, who was 20 years old, that was 27 mil. Stephen Bergwijn, 30 mil. And Ndombele, 62 mil. They let Eriksen go. They let Trippier go. That's not a summer where you're building on a Champions League final, is it? They should have gone out and spent 200 million on £450 million certified players that have played Champions League and won stuff and gone big.
You're spot on. And you can't. The thing is, when you build a squad, so for instance, sometimes you get lucky. What Fergie did with the class of 92 when he built his second title winning team, it's a rarity to have that amount of top quality kids come through at the same time and all develop. It isn't the blueprint. It's an outlier. When you build a brilliant team, your method of replacing those top players when they age out or they want to move on can't be, well, we're going to do it the same way and buy unknowns cheap and build them up again. Because it may not happen a second time around because you don't know how they're going to develop. And secondly, your level's going to drop. You have to then go, right, we bought Eriksen when he was fairly unwell known, not well known, wasn't at his peak. He's now at his peak. To maintain your levels, you've got to go and sign with someone who's as good or better than Eriksen now, today, that can come in and can deliver. And they haven't gone about doing that. And they have been let down. But as you say, if the fans don't stand up and say anything, then what is going to change? You know, they're just happy that they've got the world's longest bar and they can buy cheese at the stadium and there's charging points on the seats. And if that's good enough for you, then fair enough. Yeah, and I'll get that done for you as well, Potsy. Don't worry, I'll see that in the private chat, my man. Joshua here says Vardy is an English football legend. Drinks Red Bull at halftime, dunking on Spurs, then reminded their fans who've got no prems. He's got more prems than them before telling Romero to F off as he was getting subbed. It was legendary, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah. He's an elite level striker as well, you know. And the only reason he's not respected at the top level is because he never made a move to a traditional top 6 club, which obviously, you know, a lot of people feel like you need to do. He is an elite level striker. Elite level.
Yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt, he is. The amount of goals that he scored, and he did it in title winning Leicester teams, but he did it in the seasons as well where they weren't that great, where he's still banging in 15 to 20 goals. I would have loved to have seen him move to a bigger
His
club.
story is incredible in it as well. Like, you know, coming to football late and everything about him, man. He's probably like, was he Leicester's all-time greatest player now? Do you think, Jamie Vardy? Like, real talk, is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't see how he couldn't be. I mean, I don't know enough about their history and I don't know about the 60s, 70s, 80s, but modern day, I mean, he just has to be because he's probably done more for them than anyone I remember. And he's won them a league. And I always forget, and he helped win them the FA Cup as well. It wasn't one trophy they won. They won 2 trophies. And for a club look, Mahrez was brilliant, but Mahrez won't be an all-time legend. He was there a season or 2. Like, he's never going to be Vardy is stuck. Can you imagine how good Leicester would have been if they'd have kept the Mahrezes and the Kantés all? I mean, they could have retained their title if they were able to keep those kind of players. And Vardy did stay. Viewers, hit the like and the share button for us. Make sure you are subscribing. Obviously, Chelsea boys, they've signed João Felix a week ago when we were talking. That wasn't on the table, but João Felix, the deal's done. He's having his medical as we speak. He's returning for around 35 million. Conor Gallagher going in the other direction. Second time now in just over a week from a far more credible source now. The Athletic have spoke about how Man United believe that Chelsea late in the window may make a move for Jadon Sancho. And it's not really like the Athletic to speculate too much on these things. Thoughts on João Felix to begin with, and can you see Chelsea going in for Sancho?
Go on, LB.
Well, I can't. Surely they're not going for Sancho. I mean, they've already got so many wingers. They can't get. Sterling's obviously there. He doesn't look like he wants to leave because he's got 3-year contracts on 325 grand a week. So I don't think he's going to leave. So I doubt they're going to get Sancho. Well, I imagine I'd just be so shocked if they get him. The Felix thing is interesting because I still don't fully understand what position he's meant to be playing. Is he going to be playing as a sort of striker / false nine? Because if it's false nine, then I thought that was what Nkunku was meant to be doing. But then he played on the left against City, and I think he particularly had a great game. So yeah, again, like everything that Chelsea do these days, confused, don't really understand it. You would sort of have to wait and see what happens on the pitch just before you go, I get what's going on now. Yeah, just a strange one. Like, he's a decent player, don't get me wrong, João Felix. His obviously career's gone downhill, isn't it? Since everyone knows his career's gone downhill since he joined Atletico. Terrible move. And he's certainly a player in there. And if they can unlock the player, then how much have they signed him for, by the way?
That's what I wanted to know.
35 million, I believe, is the price that I've read.
Well, that's
7-year deal.
Right. Okay. So that's a good fee. I would say that's a good fee. And if they can get him to be playing at a decent level, like we know we can do, then he's a 70-80 million player all day long. So you're doubling your money minimum. But that's, again, football doesn't work like that. So he might come in and get worse. So yeah, strange one. I don't really understand where he's going to play because they've already got players that can play in that position. Does this mean they're not signing a striker? What's going on with the Osimhen deal now? I'm being told that, apparently they are in for Osimhen, but they've still not got that over the line. So yeah, just confusion, bro. Everything that Chelsea do, it's just confusing, isn't it? I don't really think anyone really knows what's going on at Chelsea. You just have to sort of wait and see what happens. It's exciting. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm quite excited to watch Chelsea this year. I want to know what's going on. They've got so many players. I want to know how they're going to play. I want to know what system they're going to play. What players are going to play? What players are going to be left at home? Like Sterling wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't even in the squad for the City game. But I expect more of that. Don't be surprised if Sterling isn't the last person to release statements or be unhappy, because no doubt they'll have other players that are in the same position as him. Just confused, bro, to be honest.
What do you make, Potsy, of the statements? Because I heard Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville speaking about that last night, and they both condemned it in the sense of you've got teammates and you don't want to take the focus away. They both said it was wrong. But Gary Neville alluded to the fact that he's not the only one who's been making comments, and he's getting the feeling that a lot of players at the club, the Chalobahs of this world, the Conor Gallaghers, now Raheem Sterling, feel as though they're being really mistreated. Do you think there's a point made from these players, or is this just a case of you've been underperforming, you've now been dropped, and it's sour grapes?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Jamie Carragher kind of said, I don't think he's doing that. I kind of agreed with both of them. I think he's definitely looking out for himself, but I think he's definitely looking out and saying, look, I'm getting screwed over here, but look at these two lads that are as well. I thought it was really, really poignant what Gary Neville said last night about how it would have been absolutely gutting for Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, two players that have come through the youth academy, to get told, yeah, off you go, pack your bag, see you later. Now, there's nothing wrong with selling players. Nothing wrong with that. It's how you treat them. And the way they've been treated is absolutely disgraceful, in my opinion. It's an absolute disgrace. And the club are a disgrace, man. They're absolutely awful. I mean, I don't like him anyway. Of course I don't. I'm an Arsenal fan, right? But the way they're run is absolutely abysmal. 47 players. And it's an absolute mess. And you know what's mad, Terry? 1.5 billion spent or whatever the hell it is. And they still need a goalkeeper. And they still need a striker. And they still need a winger that's decent. And they still need a left-sided winger. They still need a midfielder that's creative. What the hell is going on here, man? Honestly, I look at that Chelsea side and I think, I don't rate the goalkeeper. I don't rate the centre-back pairing. There's no balance in the midfield. It's actually laughable. There's no centre-forward. And there's a winger they've got from Shakhtar Donetsk that, let's be real, where is he? What's he doing now with him if they're going to be buying wingers and they're going to be buying strikers? So João Felix, I don't really mind him coming in because actually I don't think he's a bad player. I don't particularly think he's great. I mean, I looked at his stats. He got 15 goals for Atletico Madrid in his first year. Since then, he's not hit double figures once in the following 6 after that. So for me, I don't think he's going to take Chelsea to a new level. I think if they got Osimhen, we could have a conversation. But Chelsea still need players, and they've spent all that money. But in terms of the statement, I think Raheem Sterling is saying, look, this is how we're being treated. He's pointing the fingers at Conor Gallagher and Trevor Chalobah. And I think the statement, to be fair, as much as it doesn't look great, I think personally there's a definite message there, which is this ain't really a happy place. I think it's a toxic football club. I really do. I think it's a poison chalice. And long may it continue, man. Long may it continue.
I think there's validity in that, in the sense of, I remember football fans sometimes have to not look at these things subjectively. So when Enzo Maresca came out and said, I think it's best, and I'm paraphrasing his words, but I think it's best that Ben Chilwell finds, he's not going to play here. It's best he finds a better club if he wants game time. I saw some Chelsea fans who don't like Chilwell say, finally, a manager with a backbone. Then you see the fans who think Chilwell's their best left back. This is toxic. This is disgusting. I can't believe he's spoken about our player publicly. And I always feel like the truth is somewhere in the middle, because when people are subjective, they're often polarized in their thinking because they're going by their own emotion. But I think you have to look at the overarching situation, the size of the squad. Some of it is players that we know aren't going to play for them. They're there to be flipped. But the size of the squad is crazy. The size of you sent this through earlier, and I couldn't believe this. If you add up all the player contracts at all of our clubs at the moment, you add up the length of time.
It's the best.
Chelsea have players on 191 years worth of contracts. You know, Spurs is 197. Man United, you can see there is 82 years, but 191 years of contracts. And I thought something else Gary Neville said was really interesting. Gary Neville does own a football club. So he has an understanding, not just as a player, but as a club owner. And he said he understands some of the contract length and amortization and everything else. But he said wholeheartedly, Clearlake believe this strategy is going to yield results on the football pitch. And the one thing LB has said a lot that I think's fair, and even if you love Chelsea, even if you believe in this plan, objectively speaking, with an open mind, they are doing it in a way that no other football club in the history of football has ever tried, let alone not been successful with, has never tried. So this is quite literally the definition of trying to reinvent the wheel. And I think what Chelsea fans shouldn't ignore doesn't mean what Sterling's done is right, but I think you can't ignore the problems. I didn't like Ronaldo doing the interview with Piers Morgan. I thought that was unprofessional. And this is where Man United fans had arguments. It doesn't mean some of the things he said are not true, just because he shouldn't have done it, if that makes sense. And it's you know, I sometimes look at these scenarios and it's a case of you can't just ignore the subject matter because you don't like how the information has come out. And I've been very consistent with that, you know. City are going through it. You can't just ignore the leaked emails because they were leaked. Well, they've been obtained illegally. Yes, but we can't ignore the subject matter now just because they were leaked in a particular way. It's been looked into, and if they're innocent, they're innocent. If they're not, they're not. And I think all these scenarios have a similar theme in the sense of, yes, Sterling shouldn't have done the statement, but look at what he's saying. And as a responsible Chelsea fan, you should be looking into it, because surely you don't want there to be toxicity at your club. You know, Man United had an accusation against them about a week and a half ago about, have we got a dodgy deal with the Premier League? Because we were given much bigger leeway when it came to COVID losses. Man United released a statement very, very quickly to a few media outlets and just said, well, we asked for it, we were granted it. And we were granted it because we have to be completely transparent with all of our financials, because we're on the New York Stock Exchange. We can't hide anything. Because we have to show that transparency, we were given bigger leeway. Other football clubs have asked a bit bigger leeway, but haven't wanted to open their books for the Premier League to review it. Therefore, Man United were granted a yes. So if everyone else wants bigger yeses, the point I'm making is transparency is the way forward, always in these circumstances. And that's the problem here with Chelsea. There are players that are fuming because they believe they're being treated badly. Just because you don't like that player doesn't mean that behavior is right, because eventually that behavior could seep into players you think your club needs. But by then it might be too late. So I just think Chelsea fans have got to stop living in their feelings and look at this holistically, objectively, and go, I'm happy with some things the club's doing, but there are other elements here that smell a little bit off to me. And what Sterling did was wrong, but I think there are problems internally at the club.
Terry, I only think the timing of what Sterling did was wrong. if you actually read the statement,
Yeah.
what has he said in that statement that is bad? I don't think he's any. I've read the statement 2-3 times. I've read it. Like, I don't think the guy said anything bad. He's saying that he come back to training early. He said that he's got a 3-year contract. He said that he has a good relationship with the manager and he's open to it, and that he's going to keep fighting and he wants to be part of the squad and he wants to play. He's not said anything bad. He's not cussed the owners. He's not cussed the fans. He's not cussed the manager. He's not done anything like that. The only thing that he did wrong really was the timing of the statement. You know, at the end of the day, right? Chelsea want rid of Sterling. Why do they want rid of him? Well, probably because Maresca don't rate him, and the guy's on £325,000 a week, right? But the fact is, he signed the contract. He has no obligation to leave. If he doesn't want to leave, you can't force him out the football club unless you tear up his contract, in which case you've got to pay him the wages anyway. Sterling is letting the club know, I've got a 3-year contract. I don't think Sterling's going anywhere. I really don't. I think that's what the statement was for. I think the wording of the statement was very interesting. The fact he said very early on, I have a 3-year contract, yeah, or Raheem has a 3-year contract. That is basically him or his representatives telling the football club, I ain't going anywhere, mate. I've got 3 years left on the deal, 325 grand a week. Don't think you're getting rid of me. Why? Because no one else is giving him 325 grand a week, lads. Nobody. Yeah, because his career's gone down the Swanee. So there's no chance. For me, like, the only thing that was wrong with it was the timing. But again, you know, when you have an 80-man squad, you spend £1.5 billion on your squad, this is going to happen. You're going to create issues. And don't be surprised if this isn't the first person to do it. There'll be more, in my opinion, that this happens to.
Jimmy here says, United fans, get McTominay and Maguire out. Also, United fans, absolute disgrace how Chelsea are treating their players. Disgusting. Well, again, this is where you've got to look at the nuance of it. If these players were coming out and going, basically saying, since Ineos have arrived, we have been treated like shit, I'd have a problem with it. Just because the outcome of the behavior maybe is what I want, doesn't mean I want that behavior that way. I believe in the slippery slope theory when it comes to this. I won't ever, generally in life, whether it's political, sporting, personal, I will never advocate for the poor treatment of somebody just to remove them from my life. Does that make sense? If I'm at work, I'm not going to plant money from the till on someone just to get them sacked. Even if they deserve to be sacked, I'm not going to stoop to that level myself, as an example. So I want McTominay and Maguire gone and improvements purchased. But I don't want them to be treated like crap in the process, because that sets a precedent. And at some point, that behavior is going to impact somebody that I do like. Equally, the players don't like it. And I've condemned Man United for this in the past, Jimmy. There was a time where United hierarchy, they've done it twice with goalkeepers. Years back, Woodward promised Romero that we would find him a new football club. We didn't. And then he wasn't involved in the squad. And he had lots of friends in the dressing room that were fuming that one of their friends, a very good professional guy, was left without any game time all season. A few years later, Dean Henderson was promised an opportunity to be the number one. So essentially, you're going to start the season as number one over De Gea, and we're going to give you an opportunity to prove yourself. He never got the chance. Other players in the team thought that was wrong. You made a promise to a player, you haven't followed through with it. These things, as a Man United fan, I called out. Now, I wasn't bothered about either goalkeeper staying or going. I was actually quite happy when we sold them. Doesn't mean I'm happy with their treatment. This is exactly the same scenario. This is about, I don't believe in this by all means necessary, get rid of players. That's going to create a toxic atmosphere. That will leave other players in your squad going, could I be treated that way one day? That will have players that want to come into your club thinking, could I be treated that way at some point? You've got to do it with dignity and respect. How Trevor Chalobah has been treated, I think, is disrespectful, in my humble opinion. Considering, I know they want to get rid of him, but you can do it with dignity. And I don't believe they have. And the Chelsea players have spoken out about it. Now, if Scott McTominay and Maguire come out and say I've not been treated with dignity, I will condemn it. But what I can't do is condemn things where there is no credible information to state that bad behaviors and habits are going on. So we can't treat the circumstances the same without there being evidence that the circumstances are indeed the same. So I get your challenge, but I don't think it holds water, my friend. But thank you for the super chat. It means a great deal. What did you boys make of Chelsea's performance, especially against yourselves, LB, at the weekend? Because some Chelsea fans have been fuming, which I think is over the top. Some Chelsea fans think they were a good striker away from being as good as, you know, and level on par with City. How did you see it, LB?
Yeah, somewhere in the middle, probably. Not to sit on the fence, but I actually thought they was all right. I didn't think they were too bad. I think the goalkeeper's trash. Sanchez, I think he's absolutely awful. I think he's mid-level Premier League club at best. To be playing for Chelsea, a club that want to be getting back in the Champions League and winning titles, he's nowhere near the level that you need. We all know they've still not got a striker. You know what I mean? If they had a decent striker, maybe the result could have been slightly different. You know what I mean? Because Jackson obviously had the chance that Edison saved, and he had the goal that was offside. He should really have been offside. But in between, I don't think they're a million miles away. I think the centre-back pairing, that's going to be interesting to see. Fofana done all right, but is he going to be able to get up to a top level given his lack of minutes over the last couple of years? Colwill, I'm not sure about him. He was good at Brighton, but I don't know what his level is. We'll have to see how he develops. The midfield, Enzo, you can't have Enzo in that creative role on his own. Not if you're playing Caicedo and Lavia behind. If you're going to go like solidify, you're going to go Caicedo and Lavia, then for me, you're going to have to stick a João Felix or a Cole Palmer in the creative position, because Enzo, I just don't think is creative enough. If you're playing Lavia on his own or Caicedo on his own with Enzo and Cole Palmer, I think that's probably okay. But Enzo on his own, I don't think is creative enough. Don't understand the Nkunku left wing. I didn't think that really worked, to be honest with you. But they're just things that Maresca, as a manager, should sort of solve as the season goes through. I actually think it was not too bad. I just think that they need a striker and a new goalkeeper. They get a new striker. They got Osimhen, for example, yeah, and got a decent striker. I don't think saying making a run at the top four is completely ridiculous. Now, of course, that all depends on the manager. The manager could flop, but if they get a decent striker and a good goalkeeper, they're not a million miles away from the top four. There's still issues with the squad, 100%. But I think if they don't get a striker, especially a striker, I think the striker's the priority. If they don't get a striker, there's not a chance they get in top four, because they won't. I was speaking to Don, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it was game of fine margins." I just think you're going to be saying that a lot. Oh, if Jackson would have put the ball in the back of the net, if this guy would have put the ball in the back of the net. Well, at the end of the day, you got to stop talking about that and get someone that does it. If you get someone that does it, I think top four is a possibility. If they don't get a striker, no chance. 6 is probably best they're going to get.
I think they can fight for top 4 if they get a world-class goalkeeper and a world-class striker. Other than that, I think they've got a hope in hell. Nicholas Jackson is a bozo in front of goal. Their goal different. I think LB is being kind. I think their goalkeeper's championship level. Absolute awful. I thought he was awful at Brighton. I think he's even worse at Chelsea, if I'm honest with you. I don't get the centre-back pairing. I don't really think Badiashile is good enough to come in. I don't really think that they've got any other centre-halves other than Colwill and Fofana that I look at, and I just think they're okay. I mean, this Colwill guy is massively overhyped, man. He's not as good as Branthwaite or Mark Guehi, in my opinion. Nowhere near. I don't know where these Chelsea fans are getting this loving from. So I think they've got problems, man. Cucurella has been good in the last 4 months, and that's Savio made him look like an absolute bang average championship left back. He just absolutely sold him every single time. And I don't know. I look at that Chelsea side after it being spent $1 billion on it and think I'd probably take 1 or 2, but that would be it. I don't rate them. I'm sorry, I don't. I agree with LB. I think they've got to try and balance out that midfield. Enzo needs to just be dumped out of it. He's not good enough. Waste of money. That will go down as one of the worst ever signings in Premier League history. 105 million. He don't know where the hell he's playing. Caicedo and Lavia are both better than him because they've got an actual position where they believe they can play. And I think Palmer or Nkunku or Felix, if he comes in, will have to play in the attacking midfield role, and then have to put the other one up top. Look, if Osimhen comes in, they might be able to change things. If a Diogo Costa or Oblak or Michael Magnon or someone comes in goal, then we might look at Chelsea and go, do you know what? With a fit team, they could win that Conference League and go for a top 4. But at the moment, I've got Chelsea outside the top 6, man. I don't think they're good enough. And I don't rate
yeah, but you only don't rate Maresca because you've never really seen him in it. Like it's the unknown.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is I don't rate Maresca enough to them go. Actually, yeah, at least they got a manager that can.
But it's the unknown on Maresca. The thing is for me, and we've said this for a while now, is How would you spend over £1 billion and not have a decent goalkeeper and not have a decent striker? I mean, I don't know about you guys, yeah, and the chat as well. If I take over a football club and I'm spending £1 billion, yeah, even more, 1.3, 1.4 billion quid, the two positions that I'm going for first, I'm getting an elite level goalkeeper and I'm getting an elite level striker. Because ultimately, they're the two main positions on the football pitch which can win or lose your games. And I cannot believe they spent all that money and you know, Dan reckons Sanchez is a championship level goalkeeper. I think that's probably a tad harsh. But we both agree he's not at this. Yeah, he's probably not at the standard of Chelsea. And you have Jackson, who's just not a very good goal scorer. It's absolutely incredible that they've allowed this to happen. And to be honest with you, you know, if they would have got decent striker and a decent goalkeeper, and when he took them over and spent all this money in the first place, if you'd done that in the first window, they probably would have avoided a lot of this mess because they probably would have finished higher because they had a better goalkeeper and a better striker. It's absolutely bizarre that they've allowed this to happen. Now, listen, I actually think that they're starting these owners and this board. I think I'm getting the vibe that they're starting to realise that this youth isn't necessarily going to work. You have to have some blended, like, more experience in there.
Are they though, LB? Are they though? That's what I'm thinking. I mean, Pedro Neto's come in, but that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, but Pedro Neto's different in the sense that he's played Premier League and he's a good footballer, and we know he's a good footballer. Not a gamble, is it? Like, we know what you're going to get from Pedro Neto.
No, that's what I mean. But that's what I mean. I agree with that one. That's the only one, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, they bought Tossin and Kieran Dewsbury Hall. What else? Everyone's got different opinion on them. I think they're good players, but
I think they're all right.
The fact that neither started the first game, especially Dewsbury Hall, who is Maresca's boy, is interesting to me because my view all summer has been that's your experience core to help these youngsters. Whether we rate them or not is irrelevant. They've gone and bought 24, 25, 26-year-olds. If they're going to be the bench players and the backup players, you're going to be where you were last season. You've got a new system that's being, or an adaptation of last year's system that's being implemented with a fledgling manager, with young, inexperienced players starting the football matches. And I think that making Enzo captain, I can kind of understand why. Maybe it's an attempt to fix all the issues surrounding him in the summer. Each to their own on that. But you created a bit of a problem for yourself. How the hell can you drop your captain? No one does. Your captain starts games, generally speak, unless he's been the captain for 4, 5, 6, 7 years and he's in the latter stages of his career. It's okay for him to be on the bench with the vice captain having the armband. I think it's acceptable. You can't turn around and go, look, Reece James is out now. He might be out again for a while. He's always out injured. Enzo, you're the captain, but you're going to sit on the bench. He's going to play. Lavia and Caicedo are better in the pivot because that's how he seems to be wanting to play right now. And he can't play number 10. So it's those little things I would be concerned about as a Chelsea fan because Dewsbury Hall should be starting in that position for me, or Nkunku or Palmer, and he didn't. And it's one game, so I don't want to go over the top, but it's about those guys have got to be introduced soon. But I do agree with you. The Sancho news is interesting because the other day it came from an average source. I can't even remember who it was. It got played down. But The Athletic, I want to read their words here because it's all in my group chat, it's all in my DM. It says here, Sancho is a live situation with Man United asking for £40 million. Some at United sense Chelsea will make an approach before the end of the window. That's from The Athletic. Now, they're not, again, some people won't like them, but you know that's an organization that are fed information by the likes of Ornstein and Laurie Whitwell, etc. So this isn't something that's been, this isn't being fed by the Star on Sunday. Sancho would be one of those deals. I think he's a very talented player, but he would be one of those deals that makes me go, it's a mess. And I'll tell you as to why. All summer, Chelsea fans have told me Maresca likes touchline wingers with speed that like to go on the outside to get the ball to the touchline or byline and cut it back. It's not really Jadon Sancho. Sancho he's quick, but that isn't his game. He's a very different, he likes the ball to feet, he likes to play. Yes, he can run, he can dribble past people, but he's not a better version of a Madueke, although he's a better footballer than Madueke. He's not a better version. Pedro Neto is what I consider, according to Chelsea fans who've done their research on Maresca, to be a Maresca-style player. Also, if they sign Jadon Sancho, who's he starting over? Who's dropping out? And I understand that in the end, you're going to get answers to all these questions. But I just look at it and it feels like, well, he's a big name. He's a star. Go and get him. Now, I'd be very happy taking £40 million of their money. Hopefully that goes towards a player that 40 million, if they are seriously considering Sancho, spend that £40 million on Ivan Toney. Get a goal scorer. And
it's wild.
It is wild to me. Like, I would love to. I don't actually want to see Sancho go to any English club in case he makes it. But I think he might do well at Chelsea. But if I go by what a lot of the Chelsea fans on the football terrace have told me all summer, Sancho isn't Maresca's style of player. So it confuses me, the people that are closer to Chelsea, potentially praising this deal. It's almost like there are a lot of rumors coming out about the Felix deal, that Chelsea are only doing it so they can get rid of Conor Gallagher. So in the short term, they're balancing their books. Because remember, they're going to get 40 mil for Gallagher that comes in as instant income. The 35 million on Felix, they can spread over 7 years, which means what's he costing? He's costing £4 or £5 million year one. So on terms of those two transactions, they're making £36 million profit year one. Yeah. And that is where my concern would be as a Chelsea fan is, are we doing some of these deals to better our squad, or are we doing some of these deals to balance the books? Because if you're focusing on balancing the books, if your deals in any way, and by the way, maybe a little bit of PTSD as a Man United fan, we primarily signed Cristiano Ronaldo because we were behind on shirt sales with Adidas. And if we didn't hit a certain quota by the end of that season, our renewal of our deal with Adidas was going to lose us tens of millions of pounds. Not only did we break our sales records with Ronaldo coming in, over that 2-year period, we sold more shirts than we'd had in the previous 5 years combined because of Ronaldo. A big part of that deal was financial. If you're making this signing of João Felix for financial reasons, if you're signing the likes of Sancho because it will sell shirts, it will make a big traction online, and it's not about what Maresca wants and needs, you're setting the new manager up for failure, who, if he fails, is on a 5-year deal, which is going to cost you so much more money to get out of. There's certain things here that concern me when it comes to Chelsea, only based on what their fans have been telling me versus the actions now of their football club. I'm a little bit confused. So if any Chelsea fans watching want to re-educate me, I'm open for it. I want to understand a little bit better around what you're doing. Right now, if I'm predicting Chelsea's position, it's between 5th and 7th. Between 5th and 7th. I don't think they've got enough to make the top 4. I haven't done all along. Between 5th and 7th is where I would put them in terms of predictions. Let's go to some of these super chats quickly, because then I want to ask you about Man City, actually. Enzo having the armband was still insane. Yeah, a lot of people, I saw a lot of Chelsea fans, to be honest with you, condemning that over the course of the weekend as well. A lot of them weren't very happy. I don't think Chelsea are treating them like crap. I think it's more protecting the core group and not having it bloated like with Potter by keeping players around who are not in the plan.
Yeah, but you can't force the player out. That's the only thing, innit, Match? Like, yeah, I get that Chelsea wants Sterling out, right? Of course, he's on 325 grand a week and he's not part of the manager's plans. But you can't force him to leave if he doesn't want to leave. I mean, and that's what Sterling's saying in the statement. He's saying, I've come back to training early. I've got a good relationship. He said nothing wrong. In that statement, said nothing wrong. The timing was wrong. I agree. He said nothing wrong. He's on 325 grand a week and he's still got 3 years left. So he's looking around and he's thinking, where am I getting 325 grand a week? No one's giving him that. So he's saying, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to fight for my position. So, yeah, you can say that Chelsea are not treating him poorly, but you can't now have a go at Sterling if he doesn't leave. You know what I mean? Because he's not doing anything wrong. Your club shouldn't give him the contract.
Yeah, I hear you on that completely. Terry, Chelsea are not signing Sancho. Listen, if I'd have said to you 10 days ago, Chelsea are going to sign João Felix, the comments would have gone, we ain't signing him, bruv. If I'd have said to you 3 weeks ago, you're signing Neto, a lot of people would have said you're not signing Neto. So when it comes to Chelsea and buying players, I think it would be ridiculous to write off any possibilities at this particular juncture. I think this season is do or die for Chelsea. If they don't make any European spots, they might face total financial ruin and would slowly crumble. Abraham, I've been sent a few articles that haven't been published yet by some top financial people that have said very similar to this. I'm not sure why they haven't published it as of yet. Maybe it's the backlash they might get, but they've sold off assets. They're selling off all their youngsters because they get pure profit on them. I don't think it's this season. I think in the next 2 years, if they're not back to Champions League football and or winning trophies, you could be right. You could be right, because what who they then got to sell that they're going to make big profits on, and then they're going to have to spend big again, but their income is probably going to reduce by that point. So it could happen but I think it's more than a year away personally. True, but a ban incoming, so they're trying to force people out. Yeah.
Apparently, though, if they get a ban, they can still sell players. It's just that they can't buy players.
There might be. Yeah, I hear that. United treated David De Gea like trash. Yeah, a lot of people said that, and Man United got condemned for it. So yeah, there we go. Stop with this Sterling BS. He is the highest earner at the club and has had the better part of 2 years to show his worth, and he has fouled out with the old.
Again, I say the same thing, Jack. You're absolutely spot on. He has failed in the 2 years that he's been there, but you can't force him out of the football club. That's the point. You're absolutely spot on. Don't disagree with anything any Chelsea fans say when it comes to Sterling. He's not been good enough, and he's not worth the 325 grand a week. But ultimately, you have to hold it if he doesn't want to leave. There's nothing you can do. Like you just pay him 325 grand a week to stay at home, like United did with Sancho. Like City were doing. Well, we loaned him out, but City would have done the same with Cancelo. Every big club goes through it at some point. Like I think Arsenal had it with Aubameyang, didn't he, at some point as well? Like,
yep.
It happens to everyone, man.
Sterling also can't force Chelsea to play him left back. To play him LB.
I just realized left back at this point. He wants to get on the pitch, man.
Guy released a statement an hour before kickoff. Says enough.
You're right. You're spot on, Dake. Yeah, you're spot on. Sterling can't force Chelsea to play him, but Chelsea can't force him to leave, and that's the big one. He's on 325.
Will Chelsea try and pry Arteta away from Arsenal if their project fails?
Can you imagine? Try if you want, but I don't think he fancies going there, mate. My goodness. Oh, Jesus.
Isaac here says that Chelsea are complicating Maresca's job.
Yeah, but he also knew that before he took the job, so there's no sympathy for Maresca. He's not an idiot. He knew what he's walking into.
No, yeah, he's an intelligent man. Don't ignore the illness because of the treatment. This is true. This is very true. Very true indeed. Viewers, make sure like buttons are being hit. Make sure you're smashing the like button, subscribing, and the bell notification button is what I meant to say. So make sure you're getting that done. Man United's move for Ugarte, according to some reports, looks as though it's fairly imminent at this point. It looks like a loan with an obligation to buy is going to be Man United's best bet over the course of the next week. Having watched United's first game, how important do you think a signing of Ugarte is going to be for them to try and progress further this season, gents? I'll go to Potsy first on this one.
Yeah, I think it's needed, if I'm honest. I think Manchester United have looked to stack their defence and midfield. I still have question marks over the goal scoring, and I'll come back to that. But I think the midfield of Ugarte, Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes has a little bit of everything, if I'm honest. I think Manuel Ugarte is that six that I think Manchester United need. I think Kobbie Mainoo, although can play there, I actually think can do a really good job in the box-to-box. And I think Bruno's definitely a number 10. So I think if you're looking at that type of midfield, you can go with it. What you can also do with Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo is allow them to play double pivot and let Bruno play in the 10 as well. So I think this will be a really good signing for Manchester United. And if for a loan with an obligation, I think that's really good, man. He's only 23 years old as well, and he was highly rated at Sporting Lisbon. Hasn't worked for him at PSG. That doesn't mean that he's a bad player. We've seen other players go there and not do so well. But for me, I think it's a really good signing for Manchester United. And they're actually stacking up their midfield now, Man United. I know Scott McTominay is rumoured to leave, but obviously they've still got Mason Mount that hasn't really got into the swing of it yet, if I'm honest, at Manchester United. So I think it would be a good signing. With Manchester United, I think what that would do is complement what they've already got, but also what it will do is give a little bit of stability with what they bought at centre-back as well. Because obviously, De Ligt coming in alongside Lisandro Martinez, Lenny Yoro is going to be a backup cover with his injury at the moment. I thought Mazraoui looked really good the other night, and I think that's a really shrewd signing. For me, I think that's really good. Dalot, I think, needs to just stay at right back, though. If I'm honest, I think he's a better right back than left back. But for me, I wasn't too impressed with Manchester United in front of goal. I still think they're lacking that. I thought Xerxes' finish was actually decent, to be fair. But I still think they might need something more across the front three, Man United, before they are ready to go to that next sort of leap. But I have question marks over Ten Hag still. If I'm honest, I still don't quite get a style of play. So I'll be interested to see if that develops under a new structure. But certainly for me, I think the Ugarte deal would be decent. And I think if you look at the players you've bought in, maybe with one more coming in after Ugarte across the front three, I think for a first window, Man United can say that's fair, to be honest. I think that's a good window. So, yeah, man, it's not going to be ready yet, but I honestly believe the new structure, Manchester United will get there in a couple of years and they'll be fighting at the top again. I just don't think it'll be this season.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't impressed with United, man. I thought it was very, very similar to what I saw last year. Yeah, I thought Fulham got some good moments as well. Yeah, he created a few chances, but again, I just wasn't impressed. It was the first game, so we got to be fair. We said it was first game for Spurs. We got to say it's first game for United. I still don't believe you will be successful with this manager. I don't. Now, time will tell, but he's been here 2 years. I'm not seeing enough. Fulham, I didn't think he was very good, and I just don't believe this manager is going to get you to the level that you need it to. You need to be. I say time will tell. We'll see. Ugarte, yeah. I mean, again, I was expecting to. Bro, the way United fans have been going on in pre-season, about Casemiro, I was expecting Casemiro to be absolutely awful against Fulham. I was pretty excited to watch it because all United fans have said he's been so dead in pre-season. I actually didn't think it was that bad, but obviously he's coming towards the end of his career at United, and you need someone else. So Ugarte would be decent. I agree with Popsy. I still think you need more in the forward line. I don't think you've got enough. Is Diallo and Garnacho ready and good enough for the here and now? Not sure. Rashford, don't know. Is he going to enter a purple patch again? Because he's a purple patch player. Yeah, I still think you need a bit more, and I still have massive, massive doubts about your manager. Massive doubts.
I get the doubts about the manager, and they're not going to go away for anybody until we're playing very well on a regular basis. I felt on Friday, I thought I was very fair with this. It reminded me very much of the game against City. First 20 minutes, we looked the same as last year. Couldn't control the ball, being run all over. We weren't really conceding gilt-edged chances. It was that one shot from outside the box. So we were defending well as a unit, but we were still not. We were awful on the ball, and it was annoying me. But then, just like against City, we had one good passage of play and then dominated the rest of the first half. And we should have gone in 2-0 up. Bruno should have scored both his chances. They were gilt-edged. And the second one especially was very well put together. And I felt as though, for a few things, if we'd have scored one of those goals, the confidence then starts to flow. Same as against yourselves. I think if we'd have scored earlier in that game against yourselves, we could have gone on to score some more. It was just both games running, our goals came too late before you start getting that surge of confidence that a goal brings you. We saw Liverpool at the weekend play well in the second half. As soon as they scored that goal, the control just came because they kind of settled their nerves. So I think we need to play better earlier, and that's a tactical thing. So there's that. Also, I was thinking, what if Xerxes or Rasmus was actually created those two chances that Bruno had? We rarely last season created two chances in a game that clear cut for our striker. And Bruno essentially was playing the striker role. So if we can do that more readily, and we also did it against yourselves, I thought some of the chances we created against City in the Community Shield, what would a number 9 in that position do versus players like Mason Mount didn't make the right run for Ahmad when he got into the box because Mason Mount don't think like a striker. I can't hear you, bro.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. What is Mason Mount actually in the team to do? Genuine question. What's his role in the squad?
Do you know what he did? He did what he did really well, and the stats came out and proved it. Is what he's ability to press, win back possession. All of that is really good. I don't even think he's that bad on the ball. My problem with Mount, and I don't know how this can be, I think squats maybe, lots of gym work. He's so lightweight on the ball. If he gets the ball and turns, he sometimes turns a player and he's away. All you have to do is put a little bit of weight on his back and he's gone. Like he is so weak as a professional football player. It annoys me because I feel like if certain other players touch that ball and turn, they'd be away. And KDB's an extreme example because of how good he is. But the one thing KDB has is he can touch a ball, turn, and he's away. Foden can touch, turn, he's away. Odegaard isn't exactly built like a brick shithouse. But if he touches the ball, spins another midfielder, he's away from him. Mount does it. You think, right, he's away. You get a bit excited, and then suddenly he gets leaned on or gets bars and he's on the floor. But yeah, I'm still not that impressed with Mason Mount. Some United fans are. On Casemiro, it was a tale of two systems for me. When we were relaxed and playing our game and not leaving holes, he's fine. In the second half, when we were trying to win, we were leaving him exposed again, and we were conceding all these counterattacks. I think Ugarte helps to stop that, But equally, we have got to learn. This comes from the manager. We have got to be trained and taught to be more composed. We were going hell for leather with 20 minutes to go. That's stupid at 0-0, leaving ourselves open to those counterattacks. We didn't need to play like that. Ironically, the first time in that 20-minute spell from about the 55th minute to the 75th minute, where we, maybe a bit later than that, where we actually got the ball down and played, we scored. And Bruno, great dummy, gets the ball. I thought, don't go long to Garnacho. It might come off, but don't go long. He didn't. He played it inside. Xerxes holds it up, plays it out wide. We get into the box and we score. We've got to be more composed. Too often in that second half, we got the ball, bang, sent it long to one of the wingers. And if they lost the ball or it went out of play, we were straight back to being countered. And it was annoying me. So I haven't got carried away with the win. I'm very happy with the win. It was nice being top for 24 hours. I enjoyed that. But lots more needs to be improved with the system. And a player like Ugarte coming in, I think, really helps us do that. I think we'll be defensively stronger. He's got more legs than Casemiro. I agree with you. I don't think Casemiro's been anywhere near as bad as people are making out. And it's the system that makes him look worse. When we empty our midfield and there's no cover, what's he going to do at 30-odd years of age when he hasn't ever been the fastest player in the world anyway? He's not Kante. So it's about the system. And the biggest thing if I got the chance to sit in front of them, not that they fucking listen to me, but if I had the opportunity to, I'd say, I don't know how you coach this. I've never been a football coach, but you need to coach more composure into this team. We don't need to get to 60 minutes at 0-0 or even 1-0 down and panic and basically go. We basically end up with 3 at the back and everybody else in an attacking position and no midfield. It's stupid. You can't build up properly. And if you lose possession, you're fucked. So there's lots of areas for us to improve. But equally, I was impressed with lots of our passages of play. Mazza at right back looked great, but I'd move him to the left, like you say. I was really impressed with Xerxes when he came on, when we actually tried to play the ball rather than going long. Good first touch, good hold-up play, good finish. The only frustrating bit for me is we didn't play the ball into him more. It was all long ball. And I'm thinking we don't need to go long ball. We didn't need to do that. So, yeah, look, I think there's things for us to be encouraged about, a lot for us to improve on. But there is pressure on Ten Hag to get it right because he's got the structure around him. He's told us that things at the club are calmer. He's told us that it's a more relaxed environment in terms of it isn't chaotic and it's a clear vision. He's loved working with the likes of Ashworth and Wilcock. Between him and the board, they've agreed on the players and they're really impressed. I would say every signing so far has raised our level with technical ability. Ugarte will do that as well. Therefore, there is no excuse to not improve from last season.
Well, it's top 4 us are getting sacked in it. Let's be honest.
Pretty much. You know, unless he misses out on top 4, comes 5th marginally and wins the Europa League and another cup. The football's improved. But as a typical rule, if we don't improve our football and we don't make the top 4, my view is this: the project's, we're 1 game in. We'll be a year into the project, but you can change a manager with a club-led project. You just say, do you know what? There have been improvements. We've got the players, but the manager isn't knitting it together well enough. We ain't starting again, getting a new... We're not starting again with a new manager if he fails this season. We're just adding in a new head coach to continue what we've started this year. That is how we have to operate as a club. And yeah, I'm still excited. I'm excited about what we're going to do. I'm excited about the future of the club. But I'm just not deluding myself into thinking that it's all fixed. It's going to take years to fix us. You know, I'll praise the good bits and I'll criticize the bits that need to improve. But overall, I was quite happy, and we should have just scored more goals. Bruno should have scored 2. Again, would we all be looking at it differently if Bruno tucks those chances away and Xerxes makes it 3-0? Probably. Well, I think we would, but that's part of the game, is finishing the chances. So, yeah, look.
That's the big issue, really, is scoring goals in Manchester United. I don't know where the goals are going to come from. That's my big question mark. I don't know if it's Højlund, Xerxes, Rashford, goals by committee with all of them. I don't know where the focal point is. That's my biggest question mark with Manchester United. I think upgrading their midfield and defence is great, but they need to score goals, man. I'm not sure they can do that.
Yeah, I think it's more committee, like you say. I actually think Rashford will start scoring again this season. I do. I think he will do it. But I think that Rasmus, if he's fit, can score us again across all comps, 15 to 20 goals. He got 16 last year. I think Xerxes can score a similar amount. I think Bruno can score some. Bruno always does better for me with his goal scoring when he's playing next to a striker, not playing the false 9. I think he just prefers it. There are goals there, but I don't think there's anyone that's going to score 30 to 40 goals across all competitions. It's going to be more about committee, but we have to keep creating the chances. Our biggest issue last year Rasmus Højlund's conversion rate was around nearly 30%. We just didn't create the chances. Now, you could argue the conversion rate drops more if we create double the chances because you might miss some. But we have to create more gilt-edged chances. And we've done that in the first 2 games. I just want to see more of it as an example. But a big, big test on Saturday. We go away to Brighton, who looked... they look good. They look really good at the weekend. But still made mistakes. Still made 3 or 4 mistakes themselves playing out from the back. Still conceded loads of attacks against them. So we're going to have chances away from home. And it's going to be a really good test, I think. And I'm excited. So, yeah, onwards and upward with that one. Super Chat here says about the Sterling thing. He says, it's just a stalemate. If Sterling wants to sit home and collect his check, he has that right. Or he can lower his demands and find a club and play.
Yeah, you're right, Dake.
Yeah.
What, Dake, let me ask you a question. What do you reckon he's going to do? Because I reckon he's going to just sit at home and just take the check, bro. What do you guys reckon he's going to do? You reckon he's going to leave and play football but take a massive pay cut, or do you reckon he's just stay there and just take the 325?
No, I expect him to stay, if I'm honest. I expect him to stay because I don't think he's going to take a huge wage cut. No one's going to pay him up 300 grand a week.
No. The only way I see him going is if they find him either a loan or a sale, where maybe the new club says we'll pay 150, 200 and Chelsea have to pay the remainder, because that happens quite a lot when you've got a player on too much money. But if no one's willing to... I mean, does anyone want him? That's the big question. Does anybody of a high level want Raheem Sterling now at his age and where he is at in his career? I don't know. Man United statistically had the best defense this weekend. What are people criticizing? United defenders did well this weekend. Mark, you bang on. Like even against the counter attacks, we defended them well. We did. But of course, we still need to hold out in the middle. You don't want to be getting countered like that as regularly as we were in that second half, because that will lead to problems. But our defenders did very good jobs, I felt. You're absolutely right. Arsenal, a few reports. Dean Jones has said in Give Me Sport today that Merino is 24 hours away from happening. Fabrizio has said 24 to 48 hours. It appears the deal is done in reality. You're just waiting for the announcement to happen. I know you're all excited about that coming, although it's a little bit late. Also, Eddie Nketiah, Ramsdale could be on their way out as well. Some big bids came in last night. After Moreno, I know you're going to be happy with him. It's got to be the striker next after that, hasn't it?
Has to be, man. Has to be an attacker coming in after that. I like Calafiori. I like Merino, but it's got to be an attacker as well. Because for me, I don't see us winning the league without an attacker. Now, Eddie Nketiah, I hope we can get this done, because I would have sold him to Marseille. And people said, oh, you're in the mud. Nottingham Forest are coming in now, more money. Well, it's been rejected because they haven't come in with more money. They've come in with 25 million. So unless they're going to come in with 30, I can't see this one happening. Now, rumours are they are still in talks and they're looking to try and come in with another bid. So hopefully we can get as close to 30 as possible for Eddie Nketiah, which I think is good money. Aaron Ramsdale, I'm actually not happy with this one, and I'll tell you why. Not because I don't want him to go, because I think we should be sort of selling Aaron Ramsdale. He should be playing first-team football. But we're potentially loaning him, and there's an option to buy. Now, we're basically just saying, go and have a go. Go and have a play with our goalkeeper, see if you think he's any good. Well, like, we should be trying to sell Aaron Ramsdale. If there's an obligation to buy of 25 million or whatever it is we paid for, if it was 25 million we got him for, then I can kind of understand that. But Wolves are a little bit skint. So I think the 90 million they've received, I think they only want to spend about 20 of it from what I'm hearing. Wolves are so much in debt that they're going to try and keep hold of that 70 or 80 million of it. So it doesn't look like they want to be spending money on Aaron Ramsdale. I personally feel like 25, 30 million pounds for a 26-year-old goalkeeper, I think is fair, and I think it's good money, and I think that he go to well at Wolves. I guess if this is true, Wolves are probably going to be looking to get rid of Jose Sarr. I know he was rumoured to go to Saudi Arabia. I don't know if that's the case, but I think he's quite a good goalkeeper, if I'm honest with you. So I was quite surprised that Wolves were interested in him. But with Ramsdale and Eddie Nketiah looking at going, Jacob Kivior being linked with rumours away today in Serie A, and also Crystal Palace looking at him if they're going to be selling Anderson and Guehi. I heard they might be looking at that as well. So I do feel like the attacker is the one that we need. And I hope it's Victor Gyökeres. I think that guy would come in and be a really good signing for us. I think I definitely need a striker. It isn't going to be Osimhen. It isn't going to be Tony. Definitely isn't going to be Watkins. So it's got to be Victor Gyökeres or nobody, hasn't it? And I think Victor Gyökeres is better than Eddie Nketiah. I think he will come in and score goals. And for me, Kai Havertz has proven he can score goals in the 9. Jesus has proven that he can be a good wide player. So that's what I would do. I think you use Jesus to cover for Saka, and you have Victor Gyökeres and Havertz as your 2 strikers. That's what I would do. And then obviously Merino comes in with Rice as the 8, and then you've got Calafiori to come in and cover the defence positions. And I think, if I'm honest, Arsenal have had an all right window there. You know, I think that most rival clubs will look at that and go, do you know what, that's not bad. It's not like, wow, oh my God, Arsenal winning the league. They've not bought Isak or Bruno Guimaraes or players like that. You might think, oh my God, Arsenal are serious. But I think for what was available, that would be a good window. But we have to get that attacker, man. We have to.
The problem is because I agree on the Jesus thing. And I've said this, that Potsy, the day you signed Gabriel Jesus, I was out here telling Don Robbie on AFTV that you signed a right winger, not a striker, and they weren't having it. My point is on the Jesus thing, is he going to accept that? Because he left Manchester City to be the main man. He wanted to be the main man. He wanted to be the striker. And it's funny because now he's just ended up being in the same position that he was at City, which was a backup striker, but what would he be, backup striker at Arsenal, and now a backup winger? Like, is he going to accept that? Surely he's not going to accept that, man.
I think he'll have 1 year at Arsenal. I really do. I can't see a long-term future for Jesus at Arsenal. I just don't think he's the number 9 that he wants to be. I think he isn't a number 9. I think he needs to accept. I think it's also a compliment to where Arsenal have come from, because when we signed Jesus, he was supposed to be the number 9 to try and get us back in the Champions League, if you remember. Turns out that he was the number 9 trying to go for a title. So we've got there quicker than we expected. Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, I kind of feel like Arsenal have grown out of Jesus and Zinchenko already, and we've got quicker to Man City than we expected. So therefore, Zinchenko and Jesus now become squad players again. And I don't think either of them will be happy after this season at Arsenal. So I think they've both got massive seasons. Zinchenko's been good in pre-season, to be fair, and was good at the weekend, but we all know he can't defend. And Jesus, we all know in front of goal, he's going to miss. So for me, when you're going for a title, you can't have players like that, man. Fine by squad, but if they want to play first-team football, they might have to leave.
Bro, I still don't think Arsenal have done enough. Now, obviously, at this moment in time, the window's still open. You might sign an attacker. But if you just get Merino and Calafiori, I don't think you've done enough. And the fact that City at the moment look like we're re-signing Ilkay Gundogan, I just don't see. I don't see how you've overcome and improved enough to get better than City. We brought in Savio, who looks electric already. I'm really looking forward to this guy. We're bringing in Gundogan back. I mean, I just think that Arsenal have just not done enough, man. I think he's spot on. I think you need another striker. I think you need an attacking midfielder. Not a lot of people speak about that. I think, looking at your midfield, Thomas Partey, Rice and Odegaard. Rice isn't really a creator. He's not really someone that is great at breaking down low blocks. So that puts a lot of pressure on Odegaard. And there's been times, even last season, where Odegaard has gone a couple of games not really performing well. There's a lot of pressure on Odegaard. I think that is a position that you neglected. Merino, could he do it? Potentially, I've looked at his numbers. He doesn't really seem to create. You know what I mean? His assist numbers are low. His goal numbers are low. So I do feel that's another position that you're neglecting. If you get a creative player and you get a striker, I think the title race is on. I really do. But at this moment in time, I still only see the title going to City at this moment. I really do.
Do you want to know an interesting stat? I think Gary Neville revealed this last night, that no team in Premier League history has improved their points total 5 seasons running.
Yeah,
Arsenal. Carragher said it. Arsenal are currently at 4. So, I mean, theoretically, you don't need to improve your points total to win the league. Theoretically, you could get less than last season and still win the Premier League title. So it doesn't completely write you off. But it shows the standard that City have put down and the level that... That's why, although I know ultimately people look at success based on trophies, and I get it, but you also have to take into consideration who you are up against, who you are competing against at any particular moment in time. There are lots of sprinters that were around in Usain Bolt's pomp who were getting times that before and after Usain Bolt would have made them 3 or 4 times Olympic and world champions, but they were just up against him. Does that make them failures in the grand scheme of things because they were born 10 years too late or 10 years too early? Everyone's going to have a different view on that. But it's a real big year for Arsenal. And I look at the Merino signing, and I think it's very, very good. And people are talking about where does he fit in. I don't think it's about where he fits in directly. He can play on that left-hand side. He can help Arsenal be able to rotate and maintain levels. And I think that's the most important thing for Arsenal this year, is that you bring in Calafiori, your levels are not dropping. You bring in Merino, your levels are not dropping. They do need that attacker. If they just stop after Merino, then I'm sticking with my prediction that City will win the league. If they do go out and sign a top attacker that can add more chance creation or more goals, then it's very close. But as you've said, it looks very certain, looking at Fabrizio in that talk right now, that City are bringing back Ilkay Gundogan. And I said earlier on that if City did nothing, then I thought Arsenal would, and Arsenal signed that striker as well. I made Arsenal marginal favourites. But Ilkay Gundogan coming back is every bit as good as bringing in Bruno Gomes. It's every bit as good as bringing in Kimmich in terms of improving them in the here and now. Because he can play that holding role to cover Rodri, but he can also play false fucking 9 to cover Haaland as well when he's up there. Like, the fact he can do all those roles so well, it's just I just didn't think you'd see him. I'm actually, as a United fan who doesn't want to see a 5-peat done, I'm absolutely gutted that Gundogan's going back to Man City, if indeed this completes, because it's just, he knows the system, the city, the manager. It's just and it isn't like it's 4 years from now where he's completely over the hill. Yes, he's 33, someone said. Yeah, he's 33, so what? If you watched him play last season, if you watched him been watching him play, he ain't lost as far as I've seen, he ain't lost a yard. He hasn't lost a yard. And it's not as though he's going to come in to play 50, 60 games. He is coming in to be a support player to this squad. And might start 20 league games? They're winning most of those 20 league games with him. He's phenomenal. The games last season where Rodri was missing, where City lost, if Gundogan plays those games, maybe they don't lose them. Maybe they win them all. That's how good Gundogan is. And look, Arsenal, I think Moreno's good business. Calafiori's good business. But you've got to get Eddie out. You've got to get Ramsdale out. And then you've got to go and spend some money on more. It's not about bringing someone in to replace somebody else's goals. It's about bringing somebody else in that makes you score even more, in the hope that those 3 or 4 draws turn to wins. Those 2 or 3 games that right now you might lose turn to draws or victories. Those Champions League games where it's a stalemate, you're looking like you're going out, and then he picks a ball up an obscure angle and scores a screamer. You need that. Saka might do it and whatever else, but you've got to add more game changers, more match winners needed at Arsenal, because look, I think we're in for an almighty race this season. I really, really do. But it looks like Arsenal's, ducks might be finally everything might be aligning. Their ducks might be coming in a row. But yeah, with Gundogan coming back,
just quickly as well.
Needed. Sorry,
just quickly as well. This has to cost an arm and a leg. Do you know what I mean? Like Terry says, we're not necessarily talk about striker. When I talk about this extra attacking midfielder, this isn't a player to replace Rice or a player to replace Odegaard. It's a player just to have an option. Like João Felix, could Arsenal have gone and got João Felix for 35 million quid, someone like that? Not even him, though, Potsy. The point is, people act like people are always having to spend £100 million on a player. That's just not true. Arsenal need an extra creative midfielder. Yeah, you're not telling me there's not a decent creative midfielder in the world that costs less than 40 million quid. They don't have to be the best. They have to be world class elite. Yeah, because they're not going to start. Odegaard's going to start. Rice is going to start. But someone who's good enough to be able to, sub Odegaard off with 20 minutes to go, to be able to start him in a home game against a bottom of the league sort of team. They don't have that at the moment. And yeah, I just think they've not done enough. And I think the Premier League's come back to City again.
So it's a good 10 days for Arsenal, man. And that Gundogan's finished. That's all I
hope. We'll see. It's going to be amazing, though. And it was such an interesting weekend because nobody looked. Ironically, actually, Spurs in the first half, I thought maybe looked like the best team out of the top 6 so far. And then the second half completely changed my mind. But yeah, look, we know that City are going to get better. We know that Arsenal are going to get better. We know that there's going to be so much sort of growth from both your teams. I actually was quite impressed with Liverpool in the second half of the weekend as well. And I think where they'll fall short, though, in terms of title races, they haven't signed no one. And they look like they're not going to sign any. They might sign this keeper and then loan him back out. But
I think they rely so bad on Salah as well. I think if he gets injured, I think they're dead dusted team. I think that he's that good. I think he just carries them.
Yeah, mate, I hear you. I mean, I think what you're saying holds a hell of a lot of water, really. And that's all they've got goal scoring wise. I mean, Jota's very, very good, but needs that creativity around him. But no, I totally agree with Salah. I think Terry is right about the Sterling getting loaned out. Well, yeah, that's the only way. If no one's prepared to pay him $350 a week and he isn't prepared to take a pay cut, if he's to leave, it'll only be by Chelsea playing part of it. No, we are doing this again about Rasmus. Scott went in the same areas as that dude converted those chances. He is not. I am not hearing we don't create for the guy. He needs to finish his dinner. But he was converting 30% of his chances last year, which is a massive, massive percentage. I know you're saying you're not hearing it, but when Scott did do very, very well indeed. But that was in very late moments in the game, where balls are being whipped into the box, etc. They start whipping those balls into the box earlier. They start doing that with more urgency earlier on in the game, and we'll score more goals. It's as simple as that. And by the way, Rasmus outscored Scott last year. Scott did very, very well with his goals, and he's very good at crushing the box. There's no doubt about it. And again, this isn't a complete defense of Rasmus. There's loads for him to improve on. But I look at it this way. Look, I watched City weren't even at their best at the weekend. They're very good. They still created 3 or 4 really good chances for Haaland. He scored one, couple of good saves, but imagine they only creating 1 chance in the whole game. And the first one is saved, then that's it. Nothing else for the rest of the match. You need to create more, in my opinion. You do. And that doesn't mean Rasmus doesn't have to improve a lot either. He certainly does. City have done nothing in the market, exactly why Arsenal should be getting some serious players right now. Who said that City have done nothing in the market?
Well, a couple of people in the chat are so
right, okay.
Gundogan and Savio's not exactly great business. I think that's delusional. I think it's great business. And the thing is, some Arsenal fans forget is it's up to you to overtake us. We're the top team at the moment. Your job is to get better than us and overtake us. So it's your job to do even better than us in the transfer market.
Did people not see Savio at the weekend? Savio, whatever his name is. I thought it was excellent.
He's a baller, man. And do you know what's mad? Is last season they said, oh, well, Mahrez and Gundogan have gone. Well, you've got Savio and Gundogan now. So it could be mad. Could be mad.
Certainly could be. Look, I want to thank the viewers who have tuned in today to the Super Chatters. You're amazing. LB and Dan, always a pleasure, gentlemen, to sit and speak football with you. Please hit the like button before you go. Make sure you are subscribing and turn on the bell notifications as well so you don't miss notifications, but you may do. So scan that QR code on the green and join the group chat as well. We put all of our live shows, all of our content into that group chat so you don't miss any notifications. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you again soon. Peace.